This is Must Know People. I'm John Ryan, and we're excited about today's guest, of course, on our podcast, because I always wanted to do a podcast about the women business owners here in Carroll. As we had a radio station advisor years ago that said, man, Carroll is just loaded with great women business owners out there. And so I thought, well, let's dive into that subject a little bit. Stephanie Hackfort, the owner of Loft Clothing, is with us here. So, Stephanie, first of all, back from vacation, nice, rested, relaxed, ready to go.
I'm here.
Where did you go?
Yes.
You went to Florida in the summertime.
Yes.
Why would anybody in their right mind go to Florida in the summertime?
You know, it was a girls' trip, so super fun. Spoiled the girls. Well, one of my daughters, I guess. And yeah, I don't know, but you know, it was less busy. So that part of things was really nice. There were no lines.
It's because there's more heat and humidity down there than there is here.
And you know, the worst, had a blast. I had so much fun, but there are little bugs down there. They're called no-see-ums. And I got bit like crazy, and I think I'm allergic because they
Worse
would
than
just...
the little black bugs we have around here?
Yes.
Oh.
Because you literally can't see them. So
I'm scratching Florida off my vacation list now.
Yeah. I was the lucky one out of like all the 7 to just have a horrible reaction to those. But other than that, great time.
Great time. So you're ready to roll for this. You ready to talk about women in business and things like that?
I think so. You know, it's so exciting. I was excited to hear from you. We are so fortunate to have a lot of great women business owners in Carroll. So I'm excited to chat about that.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the very beginning. You grew up in Carroll, right? Your maiden name was Janning, is that right?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, talk about growing up in Carroll. What was it like for you?
My childhood was so much fun, and that was one of the reasons we decided to move back after we had kids. I grew up on the south side of town near Southside Park, kind of was able to run around town. We always talk about the summer, how it's different now for our kids. They're so scheduled out versus, you know, my mom and dad went to work, and we were kind of left to run around town and have a good time. So
I bet your mom and dad never drove you anywhere. You're on your own for transportation?
Oh, we were walking everywhere, yes.
Now that doesn't happen, it seems like.
That is correct.
So what was your first paying job? Do you remember that when you were in high school, I assume?
Yeah.
Did you go to Carroll or Kemper?
I went to Kemper.
Okay.
Graduated from there in the year 2000, but my first paying job besides babysitting would be I worked at Walmart. I worked at Walmart when it was where like Pizza Ranch is now, in the health and beauty area. And then I also helped out by where they sold the CDs. CDs were really big.
Yeah, I vaguely remember the old Walmart store. It just it seems like eons ago that it was there.
I can see the layout of it in my mind right now. It was a great learning experience. I actually really liked working there.
Let's say, what was it like to work there? Did you like it, not like it? What was it about that job that you liked?
It was neat working with people of all different ages. So being my first job, having, people work next to me that could be my grandparents' age, but then, other high schoolers and whatnot. So it was neat. I learned a lot. The thing I looked forward to the most was running the cash register and learning how to do that. So I just learned a lot about responsibility, checking it, clocking in, clocking out.
Working with people of different ages forces you out of your shell a little bit. I think that's great for a young person to go out and be around people that are not their age, not their same background, and so you kind of learn a little bit.
Yeah, and it's neat because a lot of those people are still there today. So when I go through there, I don't know if they remember me at all, but I remember things about them and what I might have learned from them.
Hey, hi, how are you? How are you?
They're like, we've seen so many of you pass through here, but yeah.
So who was the early influence in growing up around here in Carroll, aside from your parents? Everybody, parents are always a huge influence, but who else was out there that really had a big impact on you?
Oh, gosh, that's tricky because I was going to say, it was my mom and dad for sure. And just like my surroundings, my grandparents as well. We have a lot of entrepreneurs in our family, Janning Tile and Ceilings. And then my mom's dad ran Denny's for quite a while. So if you remember the Denny's chicken and coleslaw and that. So just kind of the hardworking mentality and the entrepreneurship that kind of just was what I was surrounded with.
Sure. How about teachers? Which teachers made an impact for you?
My
Mom and dad were both teachers, so I always love to find out,
Yeah.
who influenced you there.
Oh gosh, that's a tricky one because I feel like we were blessed with so many awesome teachers. Mr. Sexton, I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. Sexton, but he was so great. Just his presence at Kemper was awesome. I really like GP for Spanish was great. We were able to do the Spanish club back then, or the Spanish trip. So that was fun to be able to go to Mexico with her. But really, and then in college, I had some great professors too. So a couple of those also stick out.
Oh, I would have thought you third grade teacher because,
Oh yeah.
Come on. I'm
my
leading you
husband.
into this room. Tell me what was special about third grade.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to remember that right. It was the second or third grade when a lot of the schools started combining. So my husband, Matt, grew up in the Dedham-Willie area. And so when their school came to Kemper, that is when I first met him.
Second or third grade?
Second or third grade. Now, we weren't together.
When did you actually start to date?
When we started.
Fourth, fifth grade?
Okay, so that was much later.
Okay.
Yes, we were very good friends, but didn't start dating until after college. So
is that right?
That is correct.
Did you guys go to the same college or just stay in touch?
We just stayed in touch. He was always just somebody who was always a really good friend of mine. So we just kind of stayed in touch, and I would come back to Carroll every so often, and he was one of the first people I called, and somebody said, "Why aren't you guys dating each other?" And we're like, "I don't know. Why aren't we?"
So when did you guys actually start dating? It was after you were done with college, you said?
After I was done with college, I'd say probably like 2006, 2005, 2006. So
okay.
We graduated high school in 2000. And then, so like 5 years after that.
You went to where?
I went to AIB in Des Moines.
Okay.
So it is no longer here. But it was a business school, and I really loved... I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school. Actually, I thought I'd go into be a hairstylist or something like that. And my parents really encouraged me to take some business classes. And if you want to do that, that's great. But like learn business first, and then that way you can take those classes, then learn how to be a hairstylist. You can open your own place and kind of run it from there. So.
That's always great advice.
Yes.
I mean, for anybody. So you didn't know early on that you were going to run your own business.
Oh, no. So going to AIB, all of our classes were kind of in the morning, which allowed for us to work basically after lunchtime. So I was lucky enough to get a job at Wells Fargo. They hired me on. I was one of the only person that worked part-time for them in the department that I was in at the time. So kind of did some of the grunt work, the filing and copies and things like that.
Started at the literal bottom.
But I really learned a lot too. That is intimidating. It was very intimidating for me to go into such a big office space, not ever seeing anything like that before, but I really learned a lot. And so then after class was over, I'd go to work there, and I'd come back to my dorm apartment, and most of my friends and roommates were going to their job at that time. So once 4 o'clock hit at Wells Fargo, most people were going home. So I ended up getting a second job too. So I did a lot of school and a lot of work, but I had a lot of fun as well. So balanced it all out there. But I actually ended up staying with Wells Fargo for 15 years.
Oh, really?
So that is something I think might surprise people.
Wells Fargo in Des Moines?
Wells Fargo in Des Moines, yeah. So I worked downtown Des Moines, and then we kind of moved offices around. The last place that I was with was the one by Jordan Creek.
So you mentioned there was a lot of college professors that had an influence on you. What did they do to influence? What made that impression?
One of the coolest, there was a Mr. Clark, and anybody that went to AIB would know who I'm talking about. But he was my marketing teacher, and he brought in business professionals from the Des Moines area to come in and talk about what they did and kind of just more in-depth look at business of all sorts of levels. And he was, just one of those people you meet that made you feel better, and everybody has value, and he was positive. And, if you were having a bad day or something like that, he just really, really was influential.
So you go to AIB, Still no idea that you're going to be owning your own business
Still no
eventually.
idea.
What did you think you were going to be doing? I mean, was there any sector that you thought you're going to be in?
Oh, yeah. So
aside from hairstyle and things like that?
That went away right away.
Why?
I don't think I had that talent. Like, I thought I would, I don't know. It just went away. I really, once I started taking some of the marketing and advertising classes, my sights were set on going into advertising. I really wanted to do that. I really wanted to work there was a place there called Craigie Newell. I don't even know if they still exist, but they did all the billboards and magazines and things like that. So my goal was to work for them eventually.
Got that marketing bug, man.
Yep, got the marketing bug.
That is a oddly addicting business.
Yeah.
I love marketing.
And
because I'm in the radio, and that's my aspect of it, and copy and all that other stuff. Most people can't stand it. I love it.
It was so interesting to me. So that's really what I thought I would be doing.
We could geek out and talk marketing all afternoon here, but we are going to move on here and talk about the business. You settled on, or first of all, you and Matt get married. You still don't own the business yet.
Correct. Yeah. So we got married, and I talked him into moving to Des Moines. Once I moved there, I'm never coming back to Carroll. We're going to live here, and we're going to build our life.
Guy through and through, or?
Yeah. He was working here, and kind of, once he got to Des Moines, I think he really liked it there too. We were in the Waukee area. So we got married in 2007. We dated, I think, about 9 months before he decided to pop the question. So quick, but we knew each other forever.
Rushed right into everything.
Right. So we lived in Des Moines for a little while, and then we moved to Carroll. Decided to make the move to Carroll when our oldest was starting kindergarten. So thought, if we're going to do it, if we're going to give it a whirl, now's the time. So
moved back to Carroll just because of your daughter. That first
Truly, yeah. So we had, she would have been starting kindergarten. Then my second daughter would have been probably 2 or 3 years old.
So when did the business come in? When did you decide, I'm going to start my own business? Because that is such a huge leap of faith.
Right. Well, thank you. It really was an interesting process. So working with Wells Fargo, I worked in the mortgage side, and I was a manager. And then when we started tossing around the idea of maybe moving back home, I thought, I'm just going to stay with them. I've been with them for 15 years. I'm going to look for a job within Wells Fargo that I can work from home. So I went into business analyst role, and basically I shadowed people doing their jobs to help them make process improvements to their jobs. So we would write requirements, I'd just sit there like you wouldn't know I was there, and we'd write requirements for new automations. Anyway, so we do that, and I started traveling an awful lot doing that. So I'd be gone a week at a time, and the next week Matt would be gone a week at a time. We thought, this is just not going to work. So in the meantime, the downtime, I was kind of tossing around side hustle ideas, and I came across something that's open your boutique online. I'm like, I could do that. I love shopping. So we were sitting in our living room one night, and I said, what do you think? I'm going to start my own store. And I did. And within probably about 5 minutes of making it live, I had a sale online. I thought, oh my gosh.
The addiction started right there.
This is great. So doing that part of helping with the automations and requirements for system building with Wells Fargo, I really learned a lot about website building, and I was able to. I love doing that. So,
and it was fairly early. Websites were still, they weren't as complex and as cool as they are now.
Right.
I mean,
right.
It really refined.
It was pretty simple
quickly.
then.
Yeah.
It was funny because there was some parts within building the process where I'm like, this isn't going to work, and I'd call the host, and I'd say their helpline, and I'm like, okay, this should do this when this happens, and they're like, what did you do in your past? So it was kind of fun because the website host that I use, we really worked together. It was an interesting relationship.
Well, it's funny. Everything you've said so far is leading you up to everything you need to open a brick and mortar store and own a business and things like that. So, what you were just going online at that point, just online. A side hustle.
Side hustle, no big deal.
What were you selling? I mean, where did you get the inventory?
Yeah, so I figured that all out. Everything's figure outable. If you want to do something, you can do it. You just have to figure out how to do it. And so that's kind of how I grew up. My mom would take apart like VCRs when they break and figure out how to put them back together. So I just...
Most people can't program the clock on those things.
I mean, I wouldn't attempt to do that. But so I, just did a lot of research and figured it out. I honestly didn't have anybody I was able to go to ask those questions. There was a couple boutiques in Des Moines that I really looked up to, and I talked to a couple of those ladies there, but a lot of people don't want to share all their secrets, so you figure it out on your own.
So what exactly did you sell?
So it's women's clothing, strictly women's clothing, boutique clothing.
Where did your inventory come from?
So just different wholesale websites. And then I started going to market and finding, more specific brand names. But I did a lot of, shopping and looking at tags and, okay, how do I reach out to that company to see if they'll send me their stuff? Mm-hmm. And so I was kind of just winging it, and it was working.
It's very controllable. You didn't probably overspend if you couldn't. You put out a certain amount into the business and saying, let's see how that goes.
That was the goal. So I started small. I'm like, I'm just going to have a few shirts, and then, but you have to buy in a bulk for the most part, like a few of each size or whatever to get a good deal. And so I do that. But yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun. And then the business just started growing. And so it came to the point where, people I was going to do it kind of on the side. No one's going to know who Top Loft is, and I'll just kind of be behind the scenes. Well, people started figuring out who it was, and I was really enjoying it. So I get people reaching out to me and wanting to try things on and coming to our house. And my husband was like, I don't know who's in our bedroom right now trying on clothes. This isn't going to work. So,
but you got to knock on every door in your house before you go in.
I'm sure there's a lot of ladies who have seen a lot of my house. But
so that Top Loft, where did that come from? You started early. That was the original name of your online store.
That is right. So the name came from truly sitting on... My husband and I sitting on the couch, and I was looking up, and our daughters' bedrooms are all on the second floor of our house, the loft area. There's a loft they all hang out in. And so there was already an Ann Taylor loft. So I was like, I just feel like this comes from, that's where my heart is. That's where who I'm passionate about. The biggest part of my life is right up there in the loft. So Top Loft.
Well, that makes total sense. Now, every business name has a story. I just never knew where that one came from, so I was very curious about that. Yep. So where did the transition into a brick and mortar store in Carroll? What were you selling new clothing and all? That was all you sold in there, or were you selling like vintage clothes and things like that?
Sure. So it was all new clothing. So once Matt basically kicked me out of the house, and we found a spot on
Thomas. Kicked your business out of the house.
Business out of there the house, yes. We found a spot at Thomas Plaza. So I thought, that'll just be my warehouse, and I'm not really going to have business hours. It'll just be if someone wants to try something on there it is, but I'll ship out of there. That lasted probably maybe a week, and I ended up taking, people saw me down there, and I was like, maybe I should just, I took some PTO, and I'm like, I'm going to be open for a week and see how this does. And I ended up at the end of the week saying, I think I need to make the transition, which is very hard to do.
A whole week.
Waited
now,
1 week.
5 days or 7 days for the week. I want to know. So you open up the business and things, you really haven't hit any snags, any problems to this point, right?
No. Things were going great. Thomas Plaza it's so neat. We call it like the business incubator. It's the best place to start a business, I feel like.
A lot of businesses start down there.
Yeah. And it's cool. After I moved out, I think it was a Jennebug Baby Boutique, and she's been doing wonderful things, out of that spot too. So it's neat to see. But yeah, no snags. Things are going well. So 2 years into that, my lease is up, and I start looking for a place to actually purchase. So
were you into the business full time at that? You'd quit Wells Fargo?
I was into it full time. Yeah, okay. I quit probably a couple weeks after moving into that Thomas Plaza space. So that was a big jump.
Yeah. How big of a leap was that for you?
I lost my safety net, right?
Yeah.
So being with Wells Fargo for 15 years, it was pretty safe for me, I thought, which looking back, I think it was the best thing to do. There was a lot of interesting things going on in the mortgage industry, and that's the sector I worked in. So it was nice to kind of get out of that. But I wanted to be more flexible as far as my time with the kids and things like that. And I'm like, if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But let's give it a try. You only live once, you know?
Did you have like the kids at the store all the time?
Yes. Yep.
Put them to work a little bit?
A little bit. I remember having like a little baby pack and play there. I was pregnant when we bought the building that I'm in now, which used to be Jung's Bakery. Mm-hmm. So my mom worked at Jung's Bakery when she was in high school. So it was kind of full circle, sort of.
Yeah, there's I love the old pictures of downtown Carroll. Everybody knows when you said, oh, it's the old Jung's Bakery.
Yep.
Everybody kind of knows what you're talking about.
Oh, it's so funny. When I first opened up, there people come in, they're like, oh, it smells like those Long Johns. After all the renovations, it still smells. This isn't nostalgia.
It's just coming out of the woodwork out there. So at what point did you hit any rough spots? I mean, were there any? It didn't up until now. It doesn't sound like any.
Yeah, I mean, so then we renovated that space. It was, like I said, I was pregnant when we bought it. I remember like my husband tearing down walls, and we had my youngest Vivian in a baby carrier in there and stuff. So got the space all done, and for the first few years it was great. Business really changed for us when COVID hit. And I would say that probably changed for a lot of people. So that was one of the biggest. That year was very interesting. And then almost it was the year after that things got a little bit trickier. And so... You
mean just after effects of being shut down?
Yeah, being able to get inventory. A lot of the vendors I ordered from didn't have as much, or it was just hard to get things. And then, people's purchasing habits changed quite a bit too. So that really changed the brick and mortar shopping for us.
Absolutely. So you had to do something in reaction to that. What did you do?
So that was that was a big pivot moment for us. And I talk about pivoting all the time, and I think of like Ross Geller off Friends, the whole pivot the couch thing.
Pivot. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's one of my favorite scenes.
My wife loves that show and loves that episode specifically. So
so it was a big pivot moment. And again, like, I hate to call my husband a cheerleader, but he really has been like the biggest, like, do it. So I came to him and I said, I'm having so much trouble getting inventory. Like, maybe I should just start making my own. And he was like, what do you mean by that? And I was looking into these new machines and whatnot, that basically like a screen print machine, but it's different. And I said, I think I really should start doing some of this myself and control my inventory. Maybe I do only made to order stuff, and then I reduce, the cost of things. So he said, do it. And I was like, really? This is an investment. And that was really, the biggest investment that I put into the business, because everything just was really easy right away. Was it a huge, like, I'm keeping myself awake at nights kind of investment? It's funny, kind of, but like just learning the new machinery, learning new systems. But I love it. And it's funny because I'm like, when I worked with Wells Fargo, it's more like 9 to 5 type situation. I work more than I ever have, but I love what I do. And so
doesn't seem like work.
It doesn't seem like work.
Yeah. So you transitioned, you got a lot of like sports items, you got licensed to carry different things. So what are you all licensed to do? I know Carroll and Kemper, you do a lot of those.
Do a lot of Carroll Kemper. We do the Carroll merchants. And then, we do have this, some of the university stuff in the store. I don't make that myself. I don't plan to get licensed in that. We get that from another place here in Iowa. So it's semi-local. But a big part of our business has been working with other businesses, both big and small.
Which explains why we're recording here at Wasted Grain today over the lunch hour. It was your choice to record here.
Yes. They've been awesome to work with. So what we've been able to do is kind of solve for a need in some business cases where they want to be able to allow their customers or employees access to their branded gear, but maybe not stock a warehouse full of inventory. So it's been, anything from like a small business to larger businesses that are wanting to, have somewhere for their employees to buy new branded gear. So we've been able to build websites, and that's like my background at Wells Fargo has really helped me with that, and building and creating new really cool websites for them to kind of solve that need. So
do you still sell any of the stuff you're buying from wholesalers, or you just stop that completely?
I pretty much stopped that completely. So that has totally changed. That was the tricky part. I really loved doing the women's boutique thing. Got to pick between the two, and so this is where we're at now, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, you kind of reduced it down, went local,
Yep.
and you flourished
Yeah.
with all that stuff. So how many businesses are you working with as far as like making their T-shirts, things like that?
So currently I think last count was 102 different stores set up. So that's kind of our, we have people that would come in and do family reunion things, or a small business that just wants, a dozen to or more shirts. And then we've got very large corporations that we do bulk orders for too. But the stores that are open constantly, I think we're at 102. So.
Yeah. So you're not relying on your retail business as much you are as doing business to business.
Business to business. Yep.
Yeah. What's the weirdest thing anybody wants you to put on a T-shirt?
I have had to say no.
Can we ask that?
I only once, and I can't say it on this podcast, John. I think I might get in trouble.
Okay. Well, you can tell me later on that one.
Yes.
So, talk about how time consuming. Like I said, you love what you do, but it has to take a big chunk of your time. I mean, give me your daily schedule. What time you wake up in the morning? What's your routine? What do you do?
So I'm not really a morning person. I'm trying to be. I joked after I stopped working my 9 to 5 or 7 to whatever. I used to get up really early when I worked for Wells Fargo. I'm like, I'm retired now. I don't have to I'm not retired. I get up around 6:30 maybe if I'm lucky. I like to have a cup of coffee, work out, and then head down to the store. And so I'll usually...
What time do you usually head down once the kids are gone to school in the school year?
Yeah, typically once the kids are... So our retail hours, we open at 10, so I'm there before then. I usually don't get down there till probably around 9 or so. And then, I work, but... the flexibility part is nice. I am a night owl, so a lot of times I just love to stay up late with my computer on my lap and work away. So,
how many employees do you have?
I have like 5 or 6 high school girls that are working for me now, and then I have a handful of friends and family that work kind of on the side or after hours. So.
And everybody to cover as busy as you are. So that's kind of the perfect balance.
Efficiency is key. So it's kind of been, at first it took a while to figure out what works and find those efficiencies. But
you started down at the Thomas Plaza. How welcoming were people as a new business owner and as a woman business owner?
Incredibly. When I opened my doors at the Thomas Plaza, just the community in general. So people like people, and people generally, they want to like people, they want to support businesses, and so I felt like the community was very welcoming, and other business owners, I feel like the vibe is like community over competition. Everyone wants to see everyone do well. If my neighbor's doing well, I'm going to do well. So that aspect was great, and then the chamber and the chamber members and everybody who involved in that has been wonderful too.
Any roadblocks that you saw that were kind of thrown up as saying, I'm not saying for just specifically women, but any roadblocks that you felt as a woman business owner?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head that was a big roadblock. A learning experience for me was, just being in the retail world was totally different because that wasn't something that I had ever really done before. But no huge roadblocks that I can think of. Everybody was very supportive and helpful.
So if you weren't running like the business you were now, do you think you'd still be owning a business?
I think so.
And what kind of business would that be? What if you could start all over again and say, I'm going to get into this business. I want to be there.
Oh, gosh. I feel like this is what I'm meant to be doing. It's funny. So we talk about like manifesting things that happen.
Yeah.
I came across a worksheet that I did when I was a little kid, and it was a picture of a business like on Adam Street, and it wasn't the same business that I'm in now, but I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if, like, I totally forgot that was something I wanted to do when I was a kid. So I really do feel like I'm where I should be. I love working with other business owners. I love helping people. So, but I think a coffee shop would be super fun to run. I would love to work at like a little boutique on the beach somewhere someday.
Yeah. Little surf shop or something like that. Surf
shop would be great.
Yeah. What was the biggest barrier for you to start a business? What was it?
I think just myself, having confidence. And that was one thing I think maybe women more so than men too. That whole like imposter syndrome feeling where you're like not adequate or a little insecure. So the biggest hurdle was truly just having confidence in myself to do it.
Have you always been a confident person? Because you strike me as a very confident person.
No, not at all. I would say I'm a very introverted extrovert. Like I love to be around people but I'm kind of more on the quiet side. I don't know if my friends would agree with that, but I feel that way.
But I feel like you'd get comfortable very quickly in that crowd. So talk about the other relationship you have with the women business owners around town. Do you guys kind of really associate together a lot, or do you share a lot of things?
Yeah, I feel like we're all here for each other. We have like a Facebook message group. Every once in a while we'll bounce ideas off of each other. Honestly, everybody's so busy. I think we'd love to get together for coffee and talk, but it's just everybody's so busy. So there is a retail committee through the chamber that some of us will see each other at. But yeah, I mean, I work closely with a few of the ladies and either providing their business with goods, and one of them helps sew items for me when I need patches sewn on hats and things like that. So it's been really great. Is there a lot of like brainstorming with them about, here's what I kind of want to do, but I can't figure out how to do it, that kind of thing? A little bit of that, yeah. And usually that's just off the cuff if I run into somebody in the grocery store or something like that. It's like, hey, I've been thinking about doing XYZ on this site or, things like that. And so just having people to bounce ideas off of that think kind of the same way you do has been really, really nice.
Now, you mentioned you really haven't hit it too many big bumps in the road. COVID was a bump for everybody, of course.
Yep.
But do you feel like you're successful? You're obviously running a successful business, but how do you define success? And do you see yourself as being successful yet?
It's crazy because I was just thinking about this the other day, and I, yes, but no. Like from the beginning, being like, oh, this is going to be a side hustle, to then what it was and now what it is, and continuing to pivot with the challenges along the way. I would like to say I'm successful, but I'm really excited for what the future holds. So I don't think I'm even close to where that might be, but I think it's important to look back and be like, look, you should be proud of yourself.
Best days are yet to come.
Best days are yet to come.
So talk about like the weekends and how do you balance having a retail business and family and all of that stuff. It's tough for any business owner for that.
Oh gosh, yeah. I used to work a lot on the weekends. I kind of have taken myself out of the retail, like working in the front of the retail store is what I call it. I really have awesome help, so I try to keep my time down to the weekdays. Although, like when the kids are still in bed, Saturday mornings or what, you just kind of find the time to do what needs to be done. I mean, the emails never stop coming in. The phone calls are always there, so it's just kind of working around their schedule more than anything. A lot of times we're on the road to baseball, or not baseball games. I'm thinking of the baseball.
Yeah, merchants and
stuff. But on the road to, the girls' basketball games or volleyball games and things like that. And I'm working in the car, and it's just normal. And I think, it's cool for the kids to see that too,
Does it ever stop? Do you ever stop thinking about it as a business owner?
There's times, I mean, where my husband will be like, all right, put the phone down or whatever. But I've been learning to shut things down. Yes.
That is hard.
It's hard. And I would say like my working out is like my me time. So I've really found that to be very mentally healthy.
Do you sit and watch TV while you're doing that, or do you listen to music, things like that, or?
Listen to music.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Just so you can just kind of zone out a little bit.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I did ask the person that told me I should talk to you about this to give me a little comment about you and things like that. And here's kind of what they said. They said, I believe Steph is a good role model for other women in business because she's successfully started and grown her small business. And through Top Loft, she contributes positively to the community, supporting other small business owners, engaging in community initiatives. She's respected not just in business, but also as a community leader. Do you see yourself as a community leader?
That is so sweet. That is what I tried to be. I think, there's it's hard, I think, as any working parent to try to balance that work-life balance. And I think there's no balancing it. You just do your best. And so trying to be there where you feel like you're needed. I love to network with other businesses and other people in the community. And some weeks it works out really great, and sometimes it doesn't. So just trying to find the time to do what trying to find the time.
When it doesn't work, does that eat you up a little bit?
A little bit, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's always somewhere to be, and there's always more you can do. And so that's tricky, but just do your best.
Do you feel like pressure to be almost perfect sometimes with things, or?
Yeah, I think, we're all our harshest critic, so yeah.
How do you deal with criticism? If somebody criticizes something, is it something that's going to eat you up and kind of just be with you for a little while?
Totally. And I wish I was not that way. Mm-hmm. I think, it does. I'm beginning to be better. I'm starting to be better.
Getting that thick skin.
Yep. But yeah, I think that's okay too, because with that criticism, whether, a little bit of it might be true or some of it's just somebody is reading you totally the wrong way, that's fine. And not everybody's going to like everybody, but, mm-hmm. Yeah, it does build up that thick skin and just keep being you.
So what advice would you give for any woman out there listening right now who's thinking about making that leap to start a business? Do they want to emulate you, kind of start with that little side hustle and then grow mm-hmm. it from there, or just jump in both feet?
Oh, gosh. I feel like, honestly, that I hate to tell somebody, don't just jump all in, but I think the side hustle teaches you a lot. Kind of like, if you are passionate about it, do you really like this? And it kind of gets your feet wet. So I think that's what I would probably encourage somebody to do. Owning your own business is hard. It's a lot of hard work. It's very time consuming, but it's also extremely rewarding. And so it's finding, is that what you're passionate about? So if it's something totally new, get your feet wet, see if you really do like it. All
right, so we're going to have a few quick questions here.
Okay.
Say, by the way, the person that nominated said, by the way, she's a real hoot.
I'm a hoot?
You're a hoot.
Oh, dear.
So what show have you recently binged? What TV show?
Oh, I just started watching, so I would say Suits, but I just started watching Your Honor on Netflix. It just came out, and it really tied me in. I started watching it on the airplane on the way to Florida, and I jumped out of my seat during the first few minutes. So, yeah.
Suits was a great one.
Suits was good.
First couple of years, awesome.
Yeah.
Are you a sports fan?
Yes.
What teams? Because I scoped out your Facebook. You've been Kansas City Cubs and baseball and things like that. But
yeah. So big Chiefs fan. I became a football fan mainly because I have two brothers and my dad are big football fans, and one likes the Vikings and one likes Green Bay Packers. So I'm like, I'm going to try to find a different team. So I picked the Chiefs, and I got really lucky because that was right before they became really good. So I don't know if they like that.
Timing is everything on all that.
Exactly.
I'm a Vikings fan. We've suffered long enough.
Right.
So. What's your least favorite food?
Oh, I really like everything.
Nobody likes everything. Come on.
Yes, for sure. I don't like spaghetti. I
really?
cannot. Oh gosh, no. I literally do not like spaghetti.
What is it about spaghetti?
It's those noodles. I don't. If you make spaghetti with a different noodle, I'd be okay. But yeah, I can't. I cannot. Ever since I was a kid.
I don't think
I've never made them spaghetti, so they may be deprived. But
it's kind of like saying you hate pizza. There's something wrong with that.
It's strange. I know, and I love pastas. The spaghetti noodles.
Oh, okay. What clothing style do you wish would make a comeback?
Ooh, I would say. Oh, this is tricky.
Well, you know what's coming next. Which one shouldn't come back?
Yeah.
What style?
Yeah.
So maybe you can roll them into one question.
Gosh, I'm thinking like when I grew up in like the 80s, 90s, like the grunge and baggy, like I remember, it's interesting now having, teenage daughters and they wear smaller clothes. I grew up wearing like big baggy clothes. There's a happy medium in there somewhere. I just don't know what that is.
So the grunge look out.
I'd say that's out. That's
what would you bring back?
I kind of dig the 70s. like the
yeah?
flare jeans, which I think are kind of coming back anyway. Maybe
Hippie
they didn't
clothes?
get anywhere. Hippie clothes, I think, are kind of fun.
Are you a hippie at heart?
No, I'm definitely
No.
not. So I don't know. That's tricky. I'm very basic. I feel like my style is kind of just basic.
So would you rather go to
with
an
that.
event where you dress up a lot or one that you just like, you wear sweats to or something?
Not a big sweats girl either. I would like to go somewhere where I could wear like jeans and a white tee.
Okay.
That would be my comfortable attire.
What's one habit you're trying hard to break?
Oh, probably. Oh, goodness. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it is.
I probably have a lot of bad habits. Yelling at my kids? No.
Well, that's on
It's
them.
summertime.
They clearly deserve it.
I actually don't think I yell at them too much.
No.
Oh, I don't know.
Don't really have one. Okay.
Yeah. Gosh, you stumped me.
Music preferences.
Everything.
Everything? Give me some artists.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I grew up on like 90s hip hop. So I, like Tupac and Snoop and Salt and Pepper. So I love that. I like to work out to that kind of music usually, but I also am like a big Morgan Wallen, like the new country. I feel like the new country is a lot of what the 70s classic rock was. So I kind of grew up with that. My mom would take me to concerts and stuff. So I like to listen to that as well, but also like the 80s. Like fun pop music, yeah. So
I always give Renee grief because she's also a 90s, loves 90s hip hop and said, we're going to be in the old folks' home someday. You're going to be with your walker going down the street and, to Salt and Pepper,
Yes, I mean.
stuff like that.
She'd get a fist bump from me.
I'd be more the AC/DC, more the classic rock kind of stuff like that. But what's the worst job you ever had?
Detasseling.
Did you?
I did. Only one summer.
Are you sad to see that? That's gone away. I don't know if anybody did tassels anymore.
I don't know if they do. I was trying to explain to my kids what it even was and how early we'd have to wake up and how, the condensation that would be on and just how miserable some of those mornings were. But it was a good life experience. So
Did bad jobs teach you a lot more than good jobs can
that is
sometimes?
right. That's right. An air-conditioned environment is nice.
For sure. They did make good money.
That is right.
Detasseling.
Yep.
That's what everybody said. They hated the job. I never did it myself, but they love that. So what makes you smile?
Oh, my kids.
Okay.
Yeah. Seeing them do what they like to do.
And your kids right now are what age and their names?
So Charlotte's my oldest. She's 16. And then we have Alexandra. She is 13. And Vivian is 8. So they're
And
big.
Matt is totally outnumbered at home.
He is. And we have a female chocolate lab, too. So he just... Poor guy.
I interviewed Sean and Shelly Haluska, and Sean's in the same boat.
Yeah.
He's like, I got 3 girls, a female dog, and wife, and he's like, I'm just totally outnumbered. He just has to go along with whatever they decide.
But I think Matt was meant to be, I'm sure he would love a boy, but I think he was meant to be a girl dad. He just he does a good job. So
I had a girl and loved it. Every
Yeah.
minute of it. She was in dance. She was in all that stuff. So I was a dance dad for a long time and did it all and absolutely loved it. So
Yeah.
Tell me something about Carroll that you tell other people outside of they don't live here. Why you live here, why you want to be here.
For the community, and it's a great place to raise kids. I don't regret it at all moving our family here. I think it's just been really awesome. Safe, comfortable. Yeah.
Your first podcast is in the books.
Oh my goodness.
How was it?
It was okay. I think we did okay. Did I do okay?
You did fantastic. You did great. So I
Thank you
appreciate you
for
doing this because,
having me.
like I said, I didn't really know you very well. I interviewed for like 3 minutes one time years ago with CYP, an event you were doing. So I had no idea. I'd never really talked to you before. So.
I've never done a podcast. I didn't really know what to expect, but I appreciate you having me, and it's been great chatting with you.
All right, Stephanie Hackfort once again is our special guest. We're recording this at Wasted Grain. Her business, Top Loft Clothing, does a lot of business with Wasted Grain, so that's why we're here this afternoon. So we appreciate them hosting us for that. And this is Must Know People. Keep on listening for more episodes at carrollbroadcasting.com.